Alright, so, I think everyone's basically heard the news by now. If you somewhat haven't, it's in the title of the video. Yeah, Xbox, or my bad, not Xbox, Microsoft just bought Activision, for the small price of around $70 billion. And if you don't know what Activision owns, they own a couple franchises. Oh, you probably never heard of them. Spyro and Crash, stuff like that. But let's be honest, I think we all know the reason Microsoft bought Activision. Call of Duty. I think it's pretty obvious that the main thing that Microsoft gets by now owning Activision is that they own Call of Duty, one of the most successful gaming franchises in gaming history. What this means is that we'll most likely see some Call of Duty games, even Crash or Spyro games on. We'll see them on Game Pass now, which is actually really good for Xbox. But I think you all know why I specifically am making this video. With the recent purchase of a lot of IPs that Microsoft has gained, like I said, like Call of Duty, like Guitar Hero, like Crash, like Spyro, the additional stuff they also bought is Skylanders. And I'll just say this real quick. I think the idea, personally, of Microsoft owning Activision isn't actually that bad. I think Microsoft, for the most part, uses their IPs pretty good. We've seen some of their prized IPs like Halo still exist even nowadays, as where, Activision, once a game kind of goes under for a bit, they kind of just scrap it, as where Microsoft, there was years where Halo didn't do that good, but they stuck with the series and they kept pushing out games. Granted, not every single year, but nonetheless, they did keep pushing out games. Now, the biggest example I can think of is Microsoft just absolutely fumbling the bag when it comes to a purchase is the Rare purchase, where they made Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts and then never revisited the franchise. But other than that, I can't really think of a time where Microsoft really just fumbled the bag and just used an IP, didn't use it well, but then never returned to it. Of course, Microsoft has fumbled the bag with IPs, but they never just outright canceled them just because of one bad game. Look at the Halo series. There's been multiple divisive games throughout its, history, yet Microsoft still comes back to it. Now, I think all of us Skylanders fans are obviously hyped with this new purchase, as Skylanders is obviously one of the things in the purchase. But just to let you know how many things are actually owned by Activision, I actually have a list here that, basically says every single game that's like an IP owned by Activision. So, let me get to telling you the names of them. Now, I'm probably not going to read them all because this list is very long, but here we go. With these, this is the full list of video game IPs that Microsoft now owns thanks to the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Blur Racing, C's Car Real-Time Energy, Call of Duty, Candy Crush, Crash Bandicoot, Diablo, DJ Hero, Empire Earth, Gabriel Knight, Geometry Wars, Guitar Hero, Gun, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, Hexen, Interstate 76, King's Quest, Laura Bow Mysteries, Lost Vikings, Overwatch, Phasmagoria, Pitfall, Police, Prototype, and then Skylanders, obviously. And, we can just keep going down the list. The list is forever, guys. There is so many games owned by this. And I'm going to be honest with you. We all know that this purchase was not made because of Skylanders. It was made most likely for the juggernaut series that is Call of Duty. Call of Duty is just such a worldwide phenomenon. I really do believe that this acquisition was probably made with Call of Duty in mind. Now, while I do think that they could definitely use stuff like Crash and like Spyro to help the acquisition, do better than it ever could, there is just so many games owned by Activision. Activision probably is the biggest publishing company in gaming history, really. I'm trying to think of a game publishing company that has more, well-known games, and I really just can't think of one. And with all this stuff, Warcraft is now owned by Xbox. I know Overwatch is a sinking ship, but it's owned by Xbox now. I just really don't see, Microsoft looking at Skylanders and be like, we could really capitalize off this. Let's use Skylanders. We obviously know that they're probably they might use Tony Hawk in some new games. They're definitely going to use Call of Duty. Heck, I probably see them using Spyro or Crash in these upcoming years. But Skylanders, I just don't know. Now, Skylanders obviously is probably a bigger game than Interstate 76 or Hexen or Heroes of the Storm. But it hasn't had a game come out since 2016. And while, yes, Skylanders is a huge game, or not huge, it was a huge gaming company. 2013, it was the talk of the town. I really just don't see why Microsoft would look at Skylanders and be like, we should use this in 2022 or 2023 to help this acquisition of Activision really give us the money. Because again, Microsoft has lost a lot of money off this. $70 billion is a lot of money. And while I do think they're probably going to get all that money back in no time from this acquisition, Skylanders is not the first thing they're going to look at and be like, why don't we use this to help us gain our money back? They're obviously going to look at Warzone with Call of Duty. They're going to look at games, maybe like I said, Guitar Hero, maybe like, Tony Hawk, games that are still popular nowadays. And they're going to try to capitalize as much of that as they can, really. And do I think that them using Skylanders is impossible? No, I do think that there might be a chance that, Microsoft is like, yeah, well, let's see what we can do with Skylanders. I do think they're probably going to test out a lot of these, IPs that they got and be like, oh, let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can do that. And just, let's see what we could do with these new IPs that we got. But I think we all know that Call of Duty is the biggest, reason why that Xbox was just bought out Activision. I mean, again, this is a huge purchase. Almost every single video game that's like a big AAA video game that makes a lot of money that comes out nowadays is Activision, which is basically Call of Duty and then the kids game that Activision rolls out each year too. I mean, especially with Warzone being such a phenomenon now, everyone's playing Warzone. I think it has over 200 something million downloads. It's really insane how much stuff Xbox owns now because of this. I mean, they own every single Call of Duty game now. I think they own every single Crash game. They might not own the original. I'm not actually sure about that, but they do own like Crash 4 and stuff like that. And I mean, I guess with the Crash, yeah, it does say Crash is owned by them. So yeah, I guess the original Crash games are also owned by Microsoft now. I mean, this was a big purchase. And obviously, if you guys don't know, I do own Xbox. I'm obviously a fan of this purchase. I think a lot of good games can now come to Game Pass because of this. But like I just said, I do not think that Skylanders is going to be the front focus of this, especially like I said, I mean, I feel like I'm repeating myself. With Call of Duty being one of the purchases they get, Skylanders is going to have to take the back seat. And while the kids games that come out there are less kids games that came out like E10 or like E games that came with this purchase. I think really only Tony Hawk, Spyro, Crash, and Skylanders are like the main kids games that they were able to buy with this. I do think that they would go to all three of those games before they go to Skylanders. Now, I do think Skylanders is in better hands now with Microsoft. I do think that they are more likely to do something with Skylanders than Activision is more likely to do something with Skylanders. I do think Microsoft might look at Skylanders and be like, we could use this for something. Let's test this out. But as of right now, with the purchase just coming out, if we're going to see Skylanders, guys, I do think we're going to have to wait maybe a couple years. But I am very happy about this purchase. Obviously, I'm as an Xbox. But even PlayStation players, I do think you guys should be happy with this because all these games that you do like Call of Duty, like Tony Hawk, like Spyro, like Crash, are in better hands now than Activision, especially with all the stuff we heard about with Activision in the past couple months. I do think that all these IPs and all the companies too. They didn't only buy the IPs; they bought the companies. They bought Toys for Bob. They have Beanox. They have Raven Software. They have all those like Treyarch. They have all those companies now as well. I do think all those companies are in better hands now, and I do think all those games are in better hands. But really, I think time is just going to tell if this purchase was really worth it for Microsoft. I do think it will be, and if they're going to use Skylanders for it. This video was pretty impromptuly made. I'd literally just heard about the buyout from Activision and from Microsoft, but I needed to make a video about it because I wanted to get my personal thoughts out there. Anyway, guys, we guys have enjoyed this video, and thank you guys for watching.